here today with the one and only Bitboy, aka Ben Armstrong. Ben, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a great pleasure to have a chat with you. So let's get the show on the road. We're at the top of the hour. Before we get started talking about all things crypto, I think our audience would love to hear your origin story, where you started and kind of how you found your way into such a lucrative career in the crypto space.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. First, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And so the story how we got where we're at is very interesting, and it's a twisting story. It definitely didn't. I didn't start out in crypto to become a person who knew much about it, but I was kind of forced to. And then at some point, I went all in and realized it was, it represented a lot of my values that I have and something I'm passionate about. So, back to 2012. I used to run a business where I sold concert and sports tickets. And I had a software that I used to post all my ads on a Craigslist. Well, the guy who ran the software, he had all his payment processors taken because, using auto posting software, so that automatically post on Craigslist, was against their terms of service. And so they sued the guy. He's a guy in Ukraine, and he's probably a billionaire now. I'm sure he's a billionaire. And he let us know that his payment processor had been shut down because he couldn't answer. He got sued by Craigslist, and he couldn't answer the case living in the Ukraine. So ICANN, the kind of police of the internet, they shut down his website. And so about 2 or 3 months later, he let us know in November of 2012 that he found a new way that we could pay. And it was this thing called Bitcoin. So, right now, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you just Google how to buy Bitcoin, and it comes up really easy. And there's thousands of sites where, they'll show you how to do it. Back then, it wasn't like that. Basically, the email included a how-to guide to make it possible. And it was so confusing. I just remember oh my gosh, I would almost rather get in a boat and sail over to Russia or Ukraine and pay this guy instead of doing it this way. Well, about a year later, after I had paid, I had some money left in my account, and it went up big time overnight, basically overnight. I didn't even know I had money in the account, and all of a sudden I had like $1,700 in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Let me cash this out. So I sold 6 Bitcoin at a McDonald's over Wi-Fi to a guy that I met on localbitcoins.com. That used to be a place where you could set up peer-to-peer transactions, and he lived near me, so we did it in person. And, while I was at that McDonald's waiting on him to show up, I was Googling, what is Bitcoin? I was trying to understand it. And I just remember every website that you looked at was it was like a GeoCities, website from the early 90s on the internet. It was like nothing out there was good education on Bitcoin. So obviously, I wish I would have researched it a little bit earlier. And, I wouldn't have, traded 6 Bitcoin, which, today is worth probably $115,000, $116,000 at the peak. At the peak, is worth a lot more than that. And, I took my family on a vacation. I paid off some bills. And then I was right back where I started with nothing. So fast forward, that would have been November of 2013. Fast forward to February, the next year, that was when Mt. Gox got crashed. Now, 90% of all Bitcoin transaction volume was going through Mt. Gox. So when that went down, I got the email explaining, the website was down, it was hacked, I wouldn't be getting any of the money back. I really didn't have much on there, just some dust. I thought Bitcoin was dead. I didn't understand even what the relationship was between Mt. Gox and Bitcoin. Like, I just thought Mt. Gox kind of was Bitcoin. It was just a place where you bought it at. And so I thought it was over. And, that was pretty much right when the bear market of, 2014 really took off, started shooting the price down. And so I kind of watched Bitcoin here and there over the next few years. I would buy one or two, maybe here or there, and you just kind of sell them at a profit. So I sold at a loss. And 2016 starts. And in 2016, I'm looking at the price like, oh my gosh, what in the world? This thing is really starting to move. In 2017, I was just kicking myself. Like, what kind of idiot am I that I had this opportunity right in front of my face? And it was just because I didn't have the education. The educational resources weren't there. So early 2018, December 2017, January 2018, that's when I got this idea to do a superhero comic book. It was going to be an animated cartoon series about this guy Bitboy. He was just a superhero. He had powers related to different coins and things like that. and he had a turtle sidekick. His name was Huddle. So the original name of this channel was actually Bitboy and Huddle, and that was going to be the name of the show. Well, learned how to animate is extremely hard. Took way too long, too much time. And the bear market just started. So it's pretty much the worst time to start a YouTube channel. So after about 2 months, I realized that wasn't really kicking it. It was going to be pointless for me to do that. One of my friends said, man, you should start just doing news videos. You've got this channel, you have a few subscribers, you explain things very simply in crypto. And, that's when I started doing news videos. Would have been March of 2018. And I've been doing them ever since. And, I know a lot of people, they look at the numbers. They're like, oh my gosh, you got like almost 1 million on Twitter. You got 1.5 million on YouTube. Man, that's so easy. Well, 2.5 years, nobody watched my channel. It was just grinding every single day. Nobody cared what I had to say. And then in 2020, things really turned around and started blowing up. And, we became the biggest channel in May of 2021. One channel bigger than us, obviously, right now. A lot of people know, but we are the largest American crypto channel. Something we're very proud of. So that's how we got from, somebody being forced to buy Bitcoin to, it's all I care about now.
Yeah, Ben, and honestly, the amount of growth that you went through in 2 years is remarkable. I think most people at this point hopefully realize how much work goes into building a YouTube channel and building such a large audience. But still, with that said, over the course of 2 years, YouTube alone, 1.4 million subscribers. That's a lot. There are people that do YouTube for 5 years and don't have that many. So, my question is, what do you think? What do you think you did differently? What sets you apart from all the other influencers in the space?
Yeah. So it's a great question. I think first I'll start with kind of, something that really catches a lot of people by surprise, which is whenever I ask someone, I say, how long do you think it takes to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube? And, people answer any range of like, oh, 5 years, you never get there, 2 years, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. And I always respond by saying, no, you're answering in the wrong currency. You're not answering. Time is not the right, time length is not the right answer. It's not months or years, it's videos. The average YouTuber who reaches 100,000 subscribers, it takes 1,500 videos. Now, when you're sitting there saying, man, it's a lot of videos to do, well, think about if I did one video a week. Think about if I did one a day instead of 2 to 3 to 5 a day. That now I've got a big production studio and people that fill in for me, so I don't have to do all the content here. But I did 2 videos a day by myself for years, and it was finally the hard work of making those videos that started to pay off. But something crazy happens. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. Yeah, that's true. And on YouTube, it's the same thing. But there's a specific reason. It's just not a number of hours. Somewhere along editing 1,500 videos, you start getting really good at it. By writing scripts for 1,500 videos. I mean, I didn't script a lot of my videos in the beginning, but if you write 1,500 scripts, think how much better you'll get at writing scripts. Anything you do that takes a lot of time, you're just going to get better at it. And then something else happens. When you're doing
Did we lose? Did we lose Ben there, or did I DC? We have no other speakers, so I can't tell. Acti, I tried to bring you up, Glenn.
Yeah,
that's what they build me as. And in crypto, when you've been around for this many years, you become an expert. And so becoming an expert in crypto and then becoming an expert on YouTube, those are two separate things, but together, that's really what pushed my growth forward. And obviously, there are things about me as a content creator that separate me from other people. I'm relatable. I'm just a normal guy. I stumbled into this. I wasn't into tech. I'm not, I wasn't into mining, not into gaming or software or anything like that. And I think there are a lot of the audience, that's what they really connect with. Like they're just people that are trying to change their lives, and they've seen that I've done it, and they want to know how. So, through crypto, we show them that and educate people, and we've educated more people than probably anybody else in crypto since we started. We definitely, I would say, we probably made more millionaires during the last bull run than any other channel that existed in history in anything. Now, of course, all those millionaires we made in 2021, they're all poor now the next year. But I mean, kind of a joke, but also kind of serious. Obviously, there were a lot of people that made a lot of money and then didn't take profits on the way. But yeah, that's something we're real proud of, and educating people is something we're very passionate about.
And so, Ben, you made the 10,000 hour reference. I believe that's Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time I read it. But you're saying with YouTube, especially an aspiring YouTuber, they're going to want to put in reps. You want to get those 1,500 videos in, and you want to do as many as you can a day to get to that number. And hopefully, if you get a little bit of luck as well, you get those 100K subscribers, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure after that it kind of just builds on itself. As far as your content is concerned, though, like what you said that you relate more to the average Joe, you relate more to a mass audience. You kind of dumb it down for people. What style of content can viewers expect when they come into your channel?
Yeah, well, we have several different styles. A lot of people know if you've been to my channel, we, kind of pattern a lot of what I do after ESPN. I'm a sports guy. I love sports. I've got season tickets to every, every Atlanta team here. Just went to the Braves games this weekend. We won first place. One of the Falcons game. We have a suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the company. We're right in between, we're close to Pepsi and Delta, and there it says Bitboy Crypto, and that's just kind of a testament to the hard work we put in to where we've been able to get, the whole goal of my business one day, hopefully own the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm a sports guy. That's the point. I grew up watching ESPN, still watch ESPN a lot. And, we try to pattern our live shows kind of after ESPN shows. So obviously we have the morning live stream. It's kind of a combination between like Sports Center. We're telling you what's happening, what's going on. We're giving you the update on what happened overnight. And there's a show on ESPN called Pardon the Interruption. It's got a rundown where it shows everything you're going to be talking about throughout the show, and it moves down with each topic. And that's a way to keep people interested. And we usually cover an XRP story near the end. The XRP people come in and, they'll watch the whole show just to get to the one segment where that's what we talk about. So another show is Around the Horn. People might have seen that show on ESPN. It's a panel show where they've got 4 sports journalists from around the country, and they go through different topics, and you get perspectives from other people. So we have a show called Around the Blockchain, and it's the same thing. We bring on guests every single day. We have a host. We cover it's kind of in the morning, you're getting the overview of everything that happened. In the afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're getting other people's perspectives on the major things or the interesting things that have happened in crypto at that time. We also put out other videos throughout the week. We just started doing a 3 p.m. video again every day because as we're in a bear market, a lot of people aren't paying attention. So outside of the live shows, we like to do things that are topical. It might be about, it might be a coin review, or we're talking about, a major coin that, newer people to crypto may not know about. We do other videos where we kind of like take concepts and draw it out on a whiteboard so people can understand. We have portfolio videos where we've had all these sample portfolios we've set up for the bear market, and people are able to track those. So we also have we have a vlog that comes out every Sunday night. That's kind of a combination of a lot of the stuff that I've done throughout the week. I've got a whole other life outside of crypto, and like people think that's insane. But after 5 o'clock, or after 5:30, I help coach my kids' baseball team. They do travel baseball, and so we had a vlog over the summer where we went on our out of town World Series trip with my oldest son's team, and I went hunting in Alaska a couple weeks ago, so we had that as a vlog. And then the other videos on weekends, we just try to figure out something that people will be able to watch, that they'll be able to take in, but also we do a lot of videos that are going to be valid 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road. That's evergreen content, is what we like to call it, content that doesn't expire. Whereas our live streams, our news videos, by the next week, for the most part, it's pointless to watch an old one because you're caught up on what's going on, and you guys stay up to date with the newest, latest. But there's concepts in crypto that people really have to understand to be successful, and so that's what we try to focus on with our, with other videos we do. We also do a 9 p.m. News update video every day. That is just a quick, like 3 to 4 minute video to catch people up. They don't have time to watch the whole live stream. We're going to be starting in a few weeks. We're building a new studio here. Our Bitlab Academy, that's where people can learn more about crypto and blockchain. $29 a month. They're actually going to be producing a 9 a.m. video every morning for the channel that'll be more for beginners.
And that was actually my next question, Ben. You
Mm.
mentioned the Academy earlier, and we at Whale Coin Talk believe one of the main catalysts that really need to fall into place in order for mass adoption to happen is better education. So, at a high level, what kind of content, what kind of courses can students expect to find in the Bitlab Academy?
Yeah, well, we've just done kind of a rebrand, and we're in the middle of an overhaul of it. So, just like anything else, you live and you learn. When we started the academy, we started doing courses on things that we thought were interesting and people would like. And it wasn't the biggest focus of our company. It was a big focus, but it wasn't like the biggest thing. But what we've seen is now that we're in a bear market, is that if people don't get the education, they're going to leave. It's like a snowball. Every time there's a bull run, you're just gathering, 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 and then all the snow that you gathered is gone when the interest isn't there. We want it to be where it's the kind of thing that with each cycle we're adding more and more people, and then we're losing less of those people when we go in the bear market. So another thing that we found is most people that want to do a blockchain course or an academy, for us, like I said, it's $29 a month, but we're going to be adding a lot more courses than we have right now. And the idea is we're always going to be adding more courses. It wouldn't have really made sense to have a course on NFTs in 2017. 2018, yeah, you could make the argument. A lot of people like Crypto Stash. He was telling me in 2018 that NFTs are going to be huge. I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, 2020, I wish I would have listened. And so there would be things that come up that are new things in crypto that people are going to have courses on, that we don't even know what they are right now. That it might have something to do with blockchain gaming or supply chain, whatever it is. You got to constantly innovate and reveal what's next. So the biggest problem is when you have new people coming to crypto is that I've discovered that beginner crypto content is actually far too advanced for a person that doesn't know anything about blockchain. They come in and we are so much in an echo chamber that the things that we think are simple and the things that we think are easy and that people will just pick up one time, they're extremely complicated. And a new person is like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to do this. It's kind of like if you used a PC your entire life, and all of a sudden somebody sets a Mac in front of you and you're trying to copy and paste. You can't even copy and paste because it's not the same keystrokes. It's going to feel very frustrating. Like it's very simple. Like it's very simple to copy and paste on a Mac. Very easy. But if you've never done it before and you've only used PCs, then you might have a hard time figuring it out. And so what I've done is, we're really gearing the course we're really gearing the course to have beginner content. And so I think that's something a lot of people want to see. In addition to Bitlab, I also have the book that I've written. It's called Catching Up to Crypto. It's published by Wiley Publishing. It's the same company that published the Bitcoin Standard, the number one Bitcoin book of all time. And we call it Catching Up to Crypto because a lot of people just want to be at a starting point. A lot of people want to be able to have just enough crypto education to where they can actually get way more educated on crypto. If there's a gap between beginner and, let's say, someone beginner and novice, almost, it might be a good way to say it, then we got to fill that gap. So the book that I've written is really about that. It's about, if you don't know anything about crypto at all, by the time you finish that book, you're going to understand how crypto started, where it came from, what the major players are, what the major concepts are, where crypto is today, what altcoins are popular, why are they popular, how did Bitcoin go from being a currency to being digital gold, and then what the future looks like. What is the future going to look like for metaverse, for NFTs, and things like that. So people can find that book, Catching Up to Crypto, on Amazon. Pre-orders are going on right now. You can actually it comes out in January. So January 11th is the day that it comes out officially. So people are looking for a good stocking stuffer for a family member who they want to give them the orange pill, learn about crypto. Then that would be a great thing to put in the stocking, and then from there, hopefully, people from after reading the book move on to Bitlab Academy and get a little more advanced with the content.
I love that. And Ben, what if you had to highlight some other important catalysts? We obviously talked about education. What would you say two other important catalysts are in order for mass adoption to happen?
Well, education is important. It definitely is something that people that are in the space and want to be in the space need to understand. But I would say like one catalyst is kind of the opposite. Actually, it's people realizing that you don't have to understand every single thing about crypto for it to be useful for you. So if you think about people that aren't into crypto, I always hear like one of two things they say. These are two things people say a lot. They're like, kind of stunt their growth, and they're like, I don't get this, so I'm not going to get into it. Basically, people don't understand what cryptocurrency is. The word currency confuses people so much. They're like, wait, what is this XRP? Where can I spend it? How is it a currency? Well, actually, it's a token that goes along with bank POS where they can send things back and forth. They can send money back and forth. The people don't care about that. What they hear is currency. Like, why do we have 22,000 currencies on CoinMarketCap.com? Well, all crypto is not trying to be a currency. The reason why we say currency is because for blockchain, every action is a transaction, whereas with Visa, transactions are actual like only purchases. So that's one thing. I also hear people say a lot, what is Bitcoin mining? And they don't understand Bitcoin mining. And so you try to explain it to them, and they're so confused that they're like, oh, this is too complicated for me. You don't need to know what Bitcoin mining is. You don't have to understand every single thing. If you look at the internet, how many people understand what HTTP is? How does it work? How do you move from one website to the next? Uh, but you use it every single day. And so, one catalyst is going to be when people are using blockchain and they don't feel like they have to understand everything about it to use it. It's an app that's connected to a network that they use, but they don't actually even know they're using blockchain. So people using blockchain without knowing or understanding blockchain, that's number one. And number two, obviously, I mean, it's got to be regulation. Like it's a bad word. People don't like it, but it's holding back so many people from investing, especially here in the United States. And it's only getting worse right now. So we work behind the scenes on a lot of stuff. We have some things politically that we're working on that can be some solutions to a lot of the problems. But then you have other people like Sam Bankman-Fried of Solana, who is working on a federal BIT license, which will bring in regulation, but it's going to be horrible for crypto, horrible for decentralization. It's going to make it to where only the elites in America are winning with crypto, and basically they're going to make every decentralized exchange illegal. And people say, "Oh, you can't stop crypto." You're right, you can't stop it. You can't you can't stop someone from making a crypto transaction, a trade on a decentralized exchange. But what you can do is you're going to say, if you do this, it is illegal, and if we find out, you will be fined or punished by X number of years in in prison or jail or whatever the case may be. So we need regulation. We need the right kind of regulation. We need crypto regulation that is ran or at least has input from the crypto community. We need something like that to be able to ease like a lot of the fears. A lot of people have, Gary Gensler, Dirty Gary as we call him. He's always trying to annex everything under the SEC control. A lot of it would be much better served to be under the CFTC. It's not perfect. They just went after a DAO. A lot of people don't like that, but it's way better than the SEC. So, once the Ripple case ends, Ripple's going to win that case. Even if it's a settlement, it'll be extremely favorable for them. And I think that's going to do a lot to set some precedent among crypto projects. You also have Ian Bellina, who is, currently being sued, by the SEC. He's denied a lot of the accusations that they put forth towards him. And this is the thing. The SEC is the mafia, period. The SEC is the mafia. It does not matter. I speak to lawyers all the time. It does not matter if you do anything wrong. What matters is the SEC decides that you're a target and they can get money from you. And that's all they care about. It doesn't matter if you did anything wrong or not. Just like anything, if somebody went to your house and looked at every single square millimeter of your house, there might be something at your house that's illegal. There might be something at your house that, you got the mattress tags, right? It says, don't cut these off. You cut those off, you go to prison. I don't think that's true. But the point is that there's a violation that can be found somewhere. Somewhere they can find something. And that is the way that the SEC operates. We've got to get away from that, regulation by enforcement, because they don't want to do their job. Because doing their job would eliminate a lot of the actions that they take on. Because if they provide clarity and if they provide regulation, then people have something they can go by to follow the rules. As long as there's nothing that we can point to, there's no, article or, set of laws or amendment or bill that we can point to determine everything in crypto we're supposed to be doing that's right or wrong, then Gary Gensler will always win because he just makes up the rules as he goes while he's suing you actively. Like, you didn't know you had to do X, Y, and Z. Actually, he didn't either. But now he's going to decide, like, oh, you know what? I'm going to come up with something that I said they should have known because it's America, and I'm going to say they broke it. And that's what Gary Gensler does. So, people using blockchain without knowing they're using blockchain, and then also getting the regulation, straightened out, which could be very bad if it's not done correctly. It could actually make people leave crypto. I think they're the two biggest catalysts we need to, really get crypto adoption heading in the right direction.
Couldn't agree more with respect to the former, and as far as the latter goes, I think you're right. It depends on how we go forward with regulation. I wasn't aware of what was going on with Sam Bankman-Fried in that on that end.
Most people aren't. Most people aren't, and people need to know. Sam Bankman-Fried, people think is their friend. He says everything is for crypto. I'm buying all these companies for crypto. No. He's buying them all to put him under the FTX umbrella, so that when this federal bit license bill comes out, which I'm hearing mixed things, either at the end of November or beginning of next year, that, when this comes out, it's going to be awful. And I personally think that the plan was for him not to be associated with it, but he's the one who's actually behind it. And, a lot of people need to speak out about this, because the only way that this doesn't go through is from the public outcry. And unfortunately, we just don't have enough people in crypto to really have that big of a voice. So we need everybody that does have a voice to stand up to this, and make sure as soon as this goes public that you guys call your congressman or your senator, make social media posts, whatever you need to do. There's other major players in it as well. I believe I know the other exchanges that are involved, but he's the only one I know. FTX is the only one I know for 100% sure is behind this and is going to be pushing it. I even know Chuck Schumer. He created the Bit license in New York. So he obviously is playing a big role in this as well. So, if you know Chuck Schumer, he went after Ross Ulbricht for Silk Road, gave him 2 life sentences. Chuck Schumer played a gigantic role in coming down hard on him. Obviously, Chuck Schumer created the Bit license in New York, which any person who lives in New York will tell you is the worst piece of crypto regulation. It made it where only the elites, only the Wall Street people, could get the license. They could afford it, so they started making their own companies. Companies overnight left New York, and when this went in 2014. So to do this on a national level could be really bad, because if you have to have a license to run a crypto exchange, that immediately means all decentralized exchanges will be illegal.
But Ben, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just wanted to unpack a bit more. If all decentralized exchanges hypothetically are illegal, but no one really controls them, like you said, they would start to basically scare people by saying, oh, if we find out that you interacted, the same thing with Tornado Cash. If you find out that you interacted with this protocol, then that's a felony and you could be put in prison for up to 5 years, or federal prison for up to 5 years, something like that, right?
This is why Tornado Cash happened, by the way. This is why that became a story. And I don't know if people noticed, but it's weird. A couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, Sam Bankman-Fried put out a gigantic long post on why the difference between whitelisting and blacklisting, and why it's important, why we should blacklist, and things like that. That's setting up for what he's pushing. Everything he says, it looks like it's this great, like, oh yeah, he's really thinking, he's really philosophical, but in reality, he's only pushing, a centralized elite narrative. So the Tornado Cash story, that was about testing the waters about what people think about this. So yes, you're dead on the money. The Tornado Cash example perfectly lines up with this.
Ben, we talked about Gary Gensler. One of my questions was, give us your thoughts on Gary Gensler, and me going through your to your Twitter feed, kind of knew what that was. But You were very bullish on XRP, and
Hmm.
I'd be curious to know, audience members also, I'm sure a lot of them are curious to know why.
Yeah. Well, I think people don't really understand the world of banking. The last time we had a major upgrade to the way that banks work was like 40 years ago. Banks don't change a lot over time. So the fact that there is now RippleNet is basically, we'll just call it like a point of sale software for banks. That's a decent way to look at it. It's not that, but it's an entire operating system, it's an entire platform that will change the way that banks communicate. Now, to understand how slow and archaic banks are, you really just have to look at the way that they do cross-border transactions. And also, people have to understand this is what we call swimming with the whales. Like there, there's no way that the Ripple system is not considerably better than anything else out there. And it's extremely hard to be able to create one of these systems. Obviously, because the banks have not changed in 40 years. So it's not like, people will say all the time, well, why don't the banks just do it themselves? Well, what Ripple has done is revolutionary, and the banks don't have the resources. And they've tried. They've tried to come up with better ways, and they haven't been able to come up with a better way to send money yet. So when you look at, people, the Bitcoin maxi, they sure do hate it when I compare XRP to Bitcoin. And I love Bitcoin, don't get me wrong. But Bitcoin and XRP are very similar in one thing, which is they are both networks of value. On the Bitcoin network, you send Bitcoin. Bitcoin is representative of value. When a transaction occurs, you are literally sending value and someone is receiving value. With banks, it is not that. They're currently using Swift. A lot of people have heard of Swift. You have a Swift number for your bank. For international transactions, this is called a network of information. So anytime someone sends money on the Swift network, they're not actually sending money. They're just sending zeros and ones. They're sending information. So one bank is that a person goes to a bank. Let's say they live in Mexico and they have $100,000, the equivalent of $100,000 of pesos, or let's just say they have 100,000 pesos. They want to send it to Germany. So the person takes the money into the bank, gives it to the money transfer person, and then that person sends information to the bank in Germany that they need to get this money sent to them. So that's the transaction. They're receiving the information the money's coming. The money doesn't actually come for anywhere from 5 to 10 days. I think around 7 days is the average for how long it takes the money itself to actually move. Well, the person who's receiving the money, they don't have to wait that long. The bank will go ahead and give them that money because they see the money is coming. However, the bank doesn't have the money. It's floating in limbo. It's like a Bitcoin transaction, that takes 8 minutes. You're sitting there for the whole 8 minutes, like refresh, refresh, refresh. But eventually it comes. But if it doesn't come, oh, wow, we've already sent the money out. So with Ripple and RippleNet, it's different. The XRP tokens are literally being sent instantaneously. So instead of a transaction taking, in reality, 7 days, takes 30 seconds and the money is actually moving. So if you think of banking infrastructure and you understand that, there's got to be someone to push the ones and the zeros, there's got to be someone to settle it, there's got to be someone, who's in charge of the international, transferring department, because there's so many bells and whistles that they have to get it and use to actually send money in 2022 where everything is basically instant. So it's just a better system that's been built. It makes sense. And a lot of people, there's this old argument that, I used to hate XRP. I didn't like it for a lot of reasons. This would have been back, 2018, 2019, 2020, I realized I hate the SEC so much. If they're going after XRP and Ripple, then man, Ripple might actually be pretty good because I hate the SEC. And most people do that know about it. So they're using this argument of, oh, well, tell me how many banks are actually using XRP, because they used to have three products. Ripple did. They used to have um, uh, they used to have X the X Via, which I think was the way you sent money. They had X Current. They had a X Rapid. Well, they took, I think it's X Rapid, I think, kind of became RippleNet in general. They had a rebrand of the products. basically now they only have two products. They have RippleNet and they have ODL, which is on-demand liquidity, which is the instant moving of money. And so now with the new way that it's set up, to settle it, you actually do have to have XRP. Now, I'm not a bank. I don't use it. So I'm unclear right now on whether or not that's actively the case or if that's what will be the case. Maybe they're waiting for the XRP case to end. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the argument that banks are using the Ripple software without using XRP, that's a dead argument. That's not reality of the way that this network is set up any longer. So that's what a lot of people get caught up on is they argue talking points about Ripple and XRP from 2 to 3 years ago that just aren't relevant today. People used to always say, oh, it's centralized. They have the 60% of the nodes they have in house, and people just spit that stuff out because they heard it somewhere, they read it on the internet, and that's not true. Ripple actually only owns about 6 out of their 155 nodes right now. So I do think this case between the SEC and Ripple, I mean, it's gone a long ways towards showing the corruption of the SEC. And basically, if the SEC goes after anybody, you should start to wonder whether they're who you think they are. Because who the SEC is not going after at all. Sam Bankman-Fried, Solana, FTX. They're thinking about going against Ethereum. They have, sent letters to Binance. There's a lot of different actions. Crypto.com's received, some letters from the SEC. A lot of exchanges have. But man, it sure is weird. Solana and FTX, they just keep getting left out of everything. I guess that's what happens when you're the number 2 donor to the president.
It's certainly interesting to think about. Ben, I would advise audience members to go check out Ben's channel and try to learn more about these, or rather, Ben does a great job of breaking a lot of XRP and Ripple network myths. And I think that's, like you said, Ben, a lot of people are conflating what is true with what they might have heard 4 years ago about XRP centralization, the uselessness of the token. Why don't banks just use the network and screw the token and all that stuff. And I think that you really do you're one of the few people that does a really good job of breaking those myths. So okay, sold on XRP, at least in the near future. You made a statement recently. Bitcoin is the greatest asset in human history, and you believe that it'll ultimately claim its throne as the world reserve currency. How far out do you see this? What are some major obstacles? I mean, we've certainly talked about some with the SEC, and what does a world with Bitcoin as a reserve currency look like?
Yeah, so I made this tweet yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. And it was very interesting because, I got this comment. Oh, you're just saying that. You don't really think that because you say all the time, Ethereum's going to pass it and blah, 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 blah. You can actually believe that Bitcoin is going to be the world reserve currency. And you can also believe that there are better investment opportunities. And that's what people don't get is that Bitcoin is slow. Bitcoin is clunky. Bitcoin has got it's old tech compared to the new tech coming out for crypto. However, a lot of the things that makes Bitcoin great, are some of the exact same things that the new kind of tech flies in the face of. I mean, when you look at proof of work, it's definitely outdated. Definitely proof of stake is the way, because of the environmental concerns. Proof of stake is way better than proof of work. However, if you already have the very, very largest network like Bitcoin does, and you're hyper focused on security and privacy, security more than privacy when it comes to Bitcoin, of course. Proof of work is way, way, way better. We can't have a million proof of work projects out there, but Bitcoin is proof of work. Well, that works. So I do think that Ethereum passes Bitcoin in market cap because there's only so many people that want to hold a hedgeable asset. There's only so many people out there that are interested in investing in gold. I love asking people like, how many people do you know in your life that invest in gold? Maybe 1 or 2 people that I know. There just isn't that many people out there that want to invest in something that's hedgeable. Now it's smart to do, but that's why most people, live paycheck to paycheck because, everyone is not a wizard with money. And so when it comes to Bitcoin, being the greatest asset, I believe that it is. It's tokenomics, though. The supply and demand built into the tokenomics and the code of Bitcoin, with Bitcoin having the total supply, the way that the circulating supply gets distributed, it really is just bar none. It was designed to be a better version of gold, really. I think without understanding that's what it was meant to be. Because if you look back at the beginning of Bitcoin, it was obviously meant to be a currency, right? Peer-to-peer electronic cash was right there on the white paper. However, at some point, probably around 2015 to 17, somewhere in that range, Bitcoin really moved from being, you know, currency to digital gold. Well, digital gold actually lends itself way better to a world reserve currency than the peer-to-peer transactions. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Bitcoin is very volatile. And it will, if you start having assets that are backed by Bitcoin, like imagine a currency that was backed by Bitcoin. Oh, that's the exact same thing that we did in America for almost its entire history, except instead of Bitcoin, it was gold. It was backed by gold. So I think when it does become the world reserve currency, it's not going to be Bitcoin itself that you're spending. Just like when you had US dollars before 1971, or I mean, really, if we want to go to, even earlier in the early 1900s, you know, you were not actually spending gold, but our money was based on gold. And I think that's what we're going to see. There's going to be a lot of battles on the way. We've lost some battles. We've won some battles. I think it's 25 to 50 years before the war is over and Bitcoin does become the world reserve currency. And it will. And the reason is simple. It's financial and technological evolution. It is superior to everything else. It is superior to gold, obviously superior to a fiat system. So, but we have steps to get there first. Before we get there, we're going to see a United States CBDC, a digital dollar. I tend to think it's USDC backed by Circle and Goldman Sachs. Jerome Powell already said they're open to the private sector helping them create a digital dollar that lines up. But then also, we're once we have a United States CBDC, I mean, we're probably going to have a world currency at some point. We're probably going to have, if it's not the digital dollar, it'll probably be something like a CBDC that ties all the world economies together. And then that's going to fail miserably. And then I think we're ripe for, the trueness and fullness of Bitcoin to really be known 25 to 50 years from now, probably more towards 50 than 25. So hopefully I'm alive. Hopefully I see it. I'll keep my fingers crossed. I turn 40 this month, so I don't know if I will be.
Well, happy October 31st, correct?
Well, that's a lie, so everybody doesn't know my birthday. But
Got
it,
it. Well,
it's close enough. That's my son's birthday.
Okay, I'm an October boy myself too. So
Nice.
happy Libra. So Ben, I wanted to talk about CBDCs, but a little bit to unpack there. We had a great debate on Monday. Proof of work versus proof of stake. It was implications of the merge, and I want to talk about Ethereum here in a moment. But I want to push back and even slightly play devil's advocate here. I keep hearing that Bitcoin uses up too much energy, it costs too much energy, but the argument being made for proof of work is that the fact that it requires real world inputs, the cost of electricity actually breeds innovation because miners are trying to find the most novel ways to harness electricity. So, for example, companies trying to work with landfills and try to harness and cap methane and wasted gas resources, right? Using renewable energy like wind, like solar, like water to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And ultimately, the miners, all that expensive equipment needs to be paid for. So the coins that are being mined will, at least some of them, be dumped on the market and ensure a more consistent distribution rather than with proof of stake where you're staking your Ethereum, you're making more Ethereum, and you're just restaking it. And the whole idea is proof of stake ensures the richest among us will continue to control the network over others.
Yeah, I think right here what we're talking about is the difference between narrative and reality. Like everything you're saying is true, and that's reality. However, the narrative is Bitcoin is bad for the environment. Proof of work is bad for the environment. And so you can really offer a lot of things that make sense. Innovate, it breeds innovation. That we've done videos on this before. I went and toured, some of the local mining facilities we have in Georgia. Georgia's actually, a lot of people don't know this. Georgia's actually the #1 Bitcoin miner running state. 34% of all hash rate in America is in Georgia. We have very friendly, electricity laws here. Some other things that are favorable towards companies. Being able to use nuclear power. We have a couple of nuclear power sites here that people can use to mine Bitcoin and things like that. So, I'm all for it. It all makes sense. But, we look at Great Reset. We look at World Economic Forum. Guys, it's very obvious to start to realize that, energy is the new oil. Energy or solar panels, the new oil. This is replacing the oil industry. Now, we're nowhere near the infrastructure to actually make that switch, but they don't want you to know that. And they're going to lie to you about that to get you to go buy an electric vehicle because it's good for them and it's good for this industry, this green energy Ponzi that's going on right now. If we literally switched 100% overnight to electric cars, there's not enough places to recharge them. We can't. It's impossible. And if you look at the way that if you really trace supply chain back on how batteries are created or how these electric cars are created, how wind turbines are created, eventually you get back to the very beginning. And to mine the materials, they need oil. So it's just really crazy when you listen to the narratives and how this stuff is. And unfortunately, as we know in crypto, even though Bitcoin is common sense, and fiat currency is stupid, instead of getting politicians to support Bitcoin, they want to change the definition of fiat so it does not say based on nothing. How crazy is that? There was literally a guy in Congress that wanted to push a bill that changed the definition of fiat currency so it sounded better. That's the kind of world we're living in. So I think trying to make common sense or logic out of why, proof of work is a better model than proof of stake, I just think it's fruitless because nobody's going to listen to that in the general public in the mainstream, even if it's 100% right. So, look, I definitely think the proof of work has its merits and it's good. And I'm definitely not, I'm not a climate crazy by any stretch of the imagination. So you're not going to find me, pushing back on the idea that, proof of work is better. You just have to understand narrative is what's most important in our society and culture. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like that. I wish people weren't sheep and they could kind of open their eyes and their ears and learn things on their own. But then you said, where are they going to learn them from? It's hard to dice through all the misinformation that's out there. So I do think that, look, innovation is great, and we've seen so much innovation, renewable energy sources and things like that. But really what's trying to be set up here is for the rich to keep getting richer. So, you can guarantee that, Elon Musk is sitting out there, wetting his chops thinking about, well, after I take over Twitter, and I create my own social media platform, I can't wait to create my own, Bitcoin mining facility in Texas. And once you get all of these corporations creating giant mining facilities that are bigger than the ones we have now, maybe then we might see the narrative change because those are the kind of people that control the narrative.
I couldn't agree more. Hence the devil's advocate statement. The Ethereum proof of stake environmental 99.95 energy reduction narrative is too strong. I think it's going to be very strong over the next 4 years. I'm not sure if I think we'll get close to a flippening, but that I'm not too sure on. It leads me to my next question. I want to hear in your own words what you believe the implications of the Ethereum merge are on the space as a whole, on alternative layer ones, and on we kind of talked about this, but on it becoming more and more centralized going forward.
Yeah, I think the ETH merge is the biggest event in crypto history outside of creation of Bitcoin or creation of Ethereum, or you get any number of coins that are going to be major. But the fact is that people get so confused by this because the merge was not supposed to make Ethereum go to all-time highs this year. It was not going. Now, if the merge had occurred in the bull run, certainly would have. But if you look at the Bitcoin halving and the way that works, I remember the last one. I told people for 5 months leading up to Bitcoin halving that the price was going to go up massively, but it wasn't going to go up on the day of the merge. And yet still somehow everybody over that 5 months just believed their little echo chamber that, oh my gosh, this halving is going to be so big. The day that it happens, man, we're going to the moon. So it happened the day before the merge. Bitcoin spiked huge. Before the day of the merge itself, Bitcoin had already began dropping. And of course, it plunged, down 15% or something, the day of the merge, whatever it was. Just like I think it went up to 10,500, 10,600, and then dropped back down to like 9,000, maybe 8,900. That's the way I remember it. It's pretty close to that. And, I was just sitting there like, it's amazing how many people are out here on social media saying the halving was a nothing burger. Like, are y'all idiots? Like, how like you can you be to listen to people for months and months and months tell you the reality of the situation, then it happens, you're like, oh, I thought I was getting rich. No, the halving works because it's literally affecting the supply and demand. It's literally cutting the production in half. Remember, if you could imagine, what if in America every year we literally cut in half the amount of oil that we brought in? 10 years from now, imagine how expensive gas is going to be. It's going to be insane. Nobody's going to be able to afford it except the elite. Well, that's kind of what the Ethereum merge is. The Ethereum merge is another one of these events that is so absolutely huge. People can't grasp it, but it has bigger effects once the demand starts picking up, and it's also going to affect the tokenomics. So the halving causes the Bitcoin price to go up every 4 years dramatically. It just takes about 3 months after the fundamental change within the network for people to start feeling the effects. So what this is going to do for Ethereum is it actually is going to give Ethereum superior tokenomics to Bitcoin. And that is insane to grasp. Yes, the supply will be higher, but the supply and the way the supply is brought in, are different. The way that the supply is brought in now is going to be far superior to the way the Bitcoin is. I'm talking about the difference between mining and proof of stake. I just mean, the rate at which they come in. If you go back last year in August to EIP 1559, that was a fundamental change to the Ethereum network that said when network congestion goes up, we're going to burn Ethereum tokens. So in the bear market, it hasn't had that great of an effect, but in the bull market, that is what led Ethereum to all-time highs. And actually that changed the day that it went in. The growth of price started. The price started going up for Ethereum. I thought we might could see something similar to that with the merge, to where we could see the price go up, but it would have only been temporary. It wouldn't have gone up to all-time highs or even close to it, because you're in a bear market. There's just too much downward momentum and downward action. So when EIP 1559 got instituted, you started burning some of the fees when the congestion is high. Fast forward to today, where we had the merge, moved to 2.0, and now they've already cut the production rate of Ethereum down 95%. Basically, every year there was 4.2% more coins created over that year. So if you had 100 million coins on January 1, the following year, you would have 1.42 million coins out there. Or that's not true. 1.042 million coins out there. So that's a lot of coins. That's a big increase. I think there's around 120 million right now, if I'm correct, somewhere in that range. And when I first got into crypto, started looking at Ethereum, I think it was around 90 million. So it's gone up significantly. Well, that rate's getting cut from 4.2% to 0.2%. So it's cut down 95%. That means that every single year on the previous version of Ethereum, every single year you would receive 20 times the amount of coins that you're going to get every year. It would take 20 years now to equal the new number of coins that we would have had just this year, with Ethereum 2.0, or the first full year of it next year. So that's way bigger than a halving. But here's the kind of secret sauce, the juice. Now, when you combine the burning from EIP 1559 with the decreased production or inclusion of new Ethereum coins, this can actually become deflationary, especially in a bull market. Because what happens in a bull market? Everyone's excited about Ethereum, buying NFTs, blockchain gaming, metaverse, blah, 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 DeFi. All these people are making Ethereum transactions. And when the network is the most congested, that means more coins are going to be burnt than are being produced. Now, I don't know what this looks like over 4 or 5 years. I don't know if in 5 years from now we're going to have less Ethereum than we have today. But I do know that when the bull run hits, you're going to have the supply eaten away at. And so literally when the price is going up and people are the most excited, you're getting rid of coins, making your coins that you're holding worth more. And to me, I do believe we see a flipping. I believe that Bitcoin would have hit $100,000 last year, like most of us expected it to. I think we had a chance to have a brief flipping at the end of that cycle. We didn't get there. We didn't have an altcoin season after Bitcoin peaked, and that's what we were waiting on. Because if that would have happened, Bitcoin peaks, it generally falls 50% in a short period of time after the top, and that would have been when Ethereum was pumping, and it would have given it kind of an edge to possibly pass it. But I do believe in this next cycle, I do believe we will see Ethereum pass Bitcoin in market cap, and I tend to believe it's going to be permanent. I don't think Ethereum gives that spot back, and that would be so great for the market because that releases the rest of the market from having to live like a zombie according to the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. Zombie.
And last question on that.
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen to a lot of these alternative layer ones? Do you think that they have a chance?
Well, it just depends on what we're talking about here. Are we talking about they have a chance to become, like the Highlander? There can only be one. That was my dad's favorite movie when I was a kid. Basically you had a group of guys who lived forever, but there could only be one. So when two of them would fight, one would get their head chopped off, and the one who survived, he was the only one. Well, we're not living in the world of the Highlander here in America or in today's culture with crypto. It's not a zero-sum game. There doesn't only have to be one. There can be multiple networks, just like we have Apple and we have Android. People get to choose. If you would look at, if you talk to somebody that uses Apple only, like I do, I like it for better for security purposes. But if you it makes no. I don't care about the Android store. Almost everything you can do on the Android store, you can do on the Apple store. Not everything, but if there's an app they have that we don't, I don't even know it exists. But yet people use both, and I think that's kind of what we're looking at. Is we're going to have a few of those alternatives to the main one. I think Ethereum remains the number one for quite some time, if not forever. I think the only chance that one has to knock it off is Cardano. I think Cardano's got, obviously Charles co-founded Ethereum and it's got a huge, strong community. I think that basically, though, for Cardano to pass Ethereum's got to mess something up. And guess what? They have plenty of opportunity to do that because, the roadmap to actually complete the Ethereum overhaul, it's like probably 10 years. We have sharding they're going to be working on next, which I think is the purge. We did the merge, the purge, there's a splurge, the verge. There's all kinds of words that end with urge that have different things on the roadmap. But sharding is going to be very complicated to complete. And so people don't understand what sharding is. It's a way to break up information and send it in a decentralized way to where the receiver receives parts of like a million different files and it comes together as one file when they receive it. Very similar to like a torrent on, BitTorrent, something like that. So they have plenty of steps to mess up. Their last step is like the splurge because it's like everything else, we're just going to do it. We have no idea how long it's going to take. ETH 2.0 first started getting talked about in 2015. Vitalik, it used to be called, the Serenity upgrade. Very early, Vitalik realized this ain't going to work in its current form forever. So Ethereum's been very slow. People criticize Cardano for being slow with their roadmap. Ethereum, they just do it opposite. They do it wrong first and then say, we'll fix it. Where Cardano says, we're going to just wait. We're going to be patient. We're going to do it right the first time. So this will really be kind of a battle of, which one of those methods works. Is it better to just put something out and have first mover advantage? Or is it better to be slow, methodical, and do it a better way? But I do think, even though that being said, I think Cardano is the only competitor, really. I think there's plenty of other ones that have a chance. Plenty of other ones that have a chance. Solana. Solana is centralized hot garbage, in my opinion. Anything you can pause like you can, I'm not a fan of. You guys know how I feel about Sam Bankman-Fried, the son of Sam, as I like to call him. But you have other ones like Cosmos. I love Cosmos. I think Cosmos has great tech. I think there's a lot of good things to like about it. It just hasn't really performed as well as some of the other ones yet. But there are other protocols that are really built on its Tendermint BFT infrastructure. So, and also, not just layer ones, but what about layer twos? Like, where do layer twos fit in? Layer twos are going to be around. You always are going to need faster transactions. Earlier, I was talking about the difference between Visa, of value of network versus or a network of value versus a network of information. Well, with Visa, they do 1,700 transactions per second. Ethereum's trying to do 100,000 by the end of its roadmap. And people may say, if Visa's doing 1,700, then why does Ethereum need more than that? Well, there's a gigantic difference. When you're using Visa, you're making a payment, you are buying something, or you're buying a service, or you're paying someone. With crypto and blockchain, literally every single thing you do on the network is a transaction. So adding something to your cart might be a transaction, not just making a payment. If you think about how many clicks it takes you to do anything on the internet, it can be a lot of clicks, and each one of those clicks has to be a transaction. So you're always going to need to be creating faster and faster transactions per second, and eventually 100,000 probably won't even be enough if the world goes blockchain like we think it's going to. So I think layer twos are important to discuss in this conversation too. Polygon Matic, that obviously is number one. You obviously have Optimism, Arbitrum, some other good ones there. But I think really a better race might even be, in between the layer twos, because I do think Ethereum is so far ahead of the layer ones. I mean, would you look at the market cap? Ethereum percentage wise is way closer to Bitcoin than anything else. All these Ethereum killer videos and all these Ethereum killer candidates, we still don't have one that's even gotten as close to Ethereum as Ethereum is to Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think the long-term vision for Ethereum is that the layer one becomes a layer of proofs, a settlement layer, and most transactions are happening on highly scalable rollups. Whether it's right now you have optimistic rollups, but eventually it'll be ZK rollups, and then I agree with you. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, but I don't. People are still going to have to want to use those alternative layer ones. That's a rabbit hole we can dive down for hours. I'm gonna diverge from that and touch on Cardano, because on your Twitter profile you have hashtag Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, XRP, and Cardano, and I would love to know at a high level what you love so much about Cardano.
Yeah, I mean, number one, I like Charles. I think when you're looking at people in crypto, you have a lot of false gods out there. You have a lot of people who, can't, don't know how to code, don't know how to develop, and yet they're creating crypto projects for cash grabs. And there's a ton of those out there, obviously. Now, I don't know how to code or develop either. I'm just using that as an example, but I also have not built a network, or have people under me doing it. And I think Charles is very authentic, and he really wants the best for the future of crypto. He believes in decentralization. If you look at the coin distribution of ADA compared to the coin distribution of something like Solana, you're looking at a new decentralized system versus the same old, giving money to the VCs and letting them all get rich and print money together. So I really like that Charles has the right mindset for this. And he's obviously extremely intelligent. And I I used to really criticize the slow roadmap back in 2018 and 2019. I was like, man, this thing's never going to come out. Well, you realize that the time keeps plodding along, and the bull runs, they come and they go. So it's important to do things the right way with a network that isn't going to have downtime. It took Cardano 6 months after smart contracts were launched to be moving congestion through at the same level that it took Ethereum several years to get to. So I think Cardano is a superior network on its own merits than the Ethereum network. However, who sells the most hamburgers in America? I mean, everybody knows who it is. McDonald's. It's not even close. Who has the best hamburger in America? Well, we can debate that all day long. I'm going to go with Five Guys, in my opinion. But we can debate that all day long, and we're all going to have different answers. But let me tell you what it's not going to be. Nobody except a kid maybe trying to get a Happy Meal is going to say McDonald's. So just because you have the best, the best of something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the one that everybody chooses. So I do think Cardano has the best network, and it's got the best solutions, and it's the best decentralized project. But that doesn't mean it's just going to instantly win. So I love the communities are so big to me too. Like I really love the communities of projects like, the XRP communities accepted us and we love that community because look, I don't like banks. I hate banks. I've had problems with banks. There certainly is kind of a thing when it comes to supporting XRP and supporting Ripple that, people are making the argument you're helping the banks. Well, I'd make the argument they're going to do it regardless. But I get the argument and I understand that. When it comes to not wanting to help banks or whatever the case may be, but I've really grown very attached to the community. The community's regular people. The community's not bankers. It's a mom who's working 2 jobs and can barely afford daycare and just is desperate for something to change her life. She says XRP may be that investment to do that. And that has been true. People have done things like that, obviously, gone from paycheck to paycheck to millionaires in crypto. So the communities are so big, and I love the XRP community. I love the Cardano community as well. They're very passionate. The Cardano community understands a lot more. I would say this: the XRP and the Cardano communities, those two communities know more about their projects than any other community out there. I guarantee. You think the Solana people are like, they're all over the tech of Solana and why it's better? Not even close. They can't even hold can't even hold a candle compared to the XRP and Cardano communities. And there's two communities that get a lot of people don't like them. But they know their projects better than other people. That's how they can argue, with people so well on what's good about their project. So I think the founder is huge. I mean, and look, when you look at like how we grade coins here at Bitboy Crypto, basically we judge them off, first and primarily, use case. You got to have a big use case. I don't want banana coin to track my bananas coming in from Brazil, so the use case has to be there. The tokenomics, they have to be strong. The team has to have good people that understand, have the right motivation for doing what they're doing and the right experience. And then the communities, you got to have a really, really great community to be able to get the message out. And then number 5 is philosophy. I usually use philosophy kind of as a determining factor. I want to make sure I'm not supporting something super evil, like FTX. But those are kind of the ways that we grade coins here. And Cardano, nails all those with flying colors.
I've never heard the burger analogy before, and it's a close one, but I think my favorite is In-N-Out. Ben, we've covered a lot, and I want to speculate a little bit now, have some fun.
Okay.
One, why do you think? Well, first of all, do you believe that the super cycle was a myth, or do you think that it was something that didn't happen as a result of macro global economic factors and all the other things that we started to see popping up in the news starting late November of last year?
Yeah. Now the word super cycle is something that's what really is a super cycle? What's the definition? What is the percentage gain that we need to cause a super cycle? And I would make a really strong argument that for Bitcoin, I think probably it's pretty clear. We need reversal of diminishing returns. Every cycle, we've gotten diminished returns in the previous cycle. For something to be considered a super cycle, I definitely think we have to reverse that. So let's say we had the last cycle had a 3.5x from the previous all-time high. If we get a 5 to 10x of the previous all-time high, that would reverse diminishing returns. And I think we would probably be able to call that a super cycle. But that's just my own opinion. I don't know what the number of percentages other people want to go by. That's what we're going to go by for the next bull market. But we were definitely on pace for gigantic numbers. I mean, people destroy me because Bitcoin didn't hit 100,000. We said it would. Also the XRP case ending last September, it didn't happen. Those are the two things that were the most off base of what we predicted. And, this year we predicted pretty much the whole bear market to a T. And it's all people want to talk about is what happened last year. Guys, Bitcoin was going to hit well over $100,000 last year. There was no question about it. It was on pace. We had the Coinbase IPO. If you go back to January, February, we were so far ahead of the previous cycle projections that saying that we were going to hit $200,000 to $300,000 by the end of the year was not only reasonable, it was almost illogical to think anything else with the way that things were going. Well, you fast forward to everybody's favorite maverick destroying the market, Elon Musk. When Elon Musk started tweeting environmental things about Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin had already sank from, I think it was $66,000 was the previous all-time high. I can't remember exactly where it hit in April, I guess it was. But Bitcoin was falling to support, and Bitcoin. We really had a hard time thinking Bitcoin was going to go back below $50,000. I certainly had said due to a gigantic support level, I didn't think it was going to go below $47,000. But that was based on the idea that Bitcoin was going to hit these high numbers eventually over that cycle. And if it did, $47,000 could be, around a bottom for the bear market. What happened is when Bitcoin dropped from 66 to 51, it was at the bottom level of support that Elon Musk started making these environmental tweets about Bitcoin. If you notice, anytime Bitcoin would catch momentum, he would do it again. And so the Bitcoin cycle for last year, it stopped. You know, it was basically put on hold, and then eventually it was never able to gain enough momentum, to get much past $69,000 because Elon Musk pushed the price down at the bottom. If I remember correctly, I think it went from like 51,000 to $42,000 in one day. The spread may actually even be bigger than that. I think it may have dropped down to 41 and bounced back up. I should probably go look instead of just quoting these numbers out of the air. But it was a dramatic fall. And that was the peak of sentiment. When you had people buying up the price in November, that was institutions looking for liquidity. That's exactly what that was. They sold it at 70, and people after that started, kept FOMOing in, and it was a lost cause because the top had already been in. So I certainly think we were going to see, maybe not a super cycle last time, but we were definitely going to see $100,000, if not higher. And I think for looking in the future for a super cycle, I do believe we get the reversal of diminishing returns. I think we're going to get it. We may not. 3.5x would put Bitcoin at, if it was at 70K, about almost $250,000. That'd be 3.5x. If it went higher than that, I would definitely think we could be looking at super cycle, a super cycle situation.
I agree. Let's stop looking back. Let's look forward. With that said, do you believe that we're going lower?
Yeah, I do. I do. We mapped out earlier this year what a bear market would look like. People haven't got this or they don't know me. I'm a strict 4-year cycle fundamentalist. I could maybe start my own cult, the 4-year cycle cult. Every fourth year, we'll drink Kool-Aid and wear Nikes. But when it comes to the 4-year cycle, I base all my predictions off of it. And, once again, people really love to kill me for saying $100,000 last year. They love to kill me way more than they love to kill the other 90% of people that said the same thing. But the fact is, even though we didn't nail the price, we nailed the time range exactly. We called the top of the market 3 years ago. We said the top of the market would be between Halloween and Thanksgiving of 2021. The one thing I didn't think was going to be that Bitcoin was going to have already topped out, and or that Bitcoin was going to top out in that range, and then we were going to get into altcoin season. So I kind of thought what we'd see is end of September, beginning of October, Bitcoin would peak, and then we get an altcoin season, and then the total market cap would peak in between Halloween and Thanksgiving. Well, they both happened at the same time. The overall market cap peak and the peak of Bitcoin, I believe, were the exact same day or very close to it, and it was right in that range. It's not rocket science. When you look at the 4-year cycles, it's not hard to be able to determine what Bitcoin should be doing. And so earlier this year, we started mapping out the bear market, and the bear market should happen somewhere around. We like to give specific dates because people like that. The date doesn't mean anything. It's a marker. November 28th is what we're looking at for this year. Somewhere between $10,000 and $14,000. $10,366 is exactly an 85% drawdown, which is average for Bitcoin. And certainly seeing it, hitting 13, 14K, 12K maybe, and bouncing back up and, satisfying the bear gods with maybe a 80% drop instead of 85%. But where do I get that date from? Well, number one, obviously, just study the cycles and average amounts of days in between, tops and bottoms. But so far has always bottomed after the midterms, 3 to 5 weeks after the midterm election. So that should put it at the end of November, beginning of December. What's really interesting is when you start factoring in what's going on with the Fed and the dates of those Fed meetings. I can certainly see November 1st, the Fed comes out and says, we're raising rates. They raise the rates. The world is pressuring them to stop. The UN is pressuring them to stop. Economies around the world are getting crushed. It's going to be a hard winter for a lot of those places. They're going to have to do rolling blackouts because they can't afford energy costs. So, there's a I think it's December 14th meeting for the Fed. So it's really set up perfect for the Fed to announce in December that they're not going to raise rates anymore. And that would put it right in that 3 to 5 week range, a little after our November 28th date. But that would put it right in that range for a bottom of the overall market, a bottom for Bitcoin. So we certainly expect things to be heading in the right direction by the end of this year, early next year. but it's probably gonna be sideways for a year. And there will be fireworks at times where people will make some gains. Bitcoin might go from 17,000 to 28,000 in a couple of days, then back down again. We could certainly see that. Like we saw Bitcoin have some massive gains in 2019, always to return back to the average between about $6,000 and $7,000. So that's what I think is going to happen. I do think we're going to hit lower. A lot of people believe we're going to hit lower based on history, based on charts, based on macroeconomic, based on government regulations. Pick your poison. But Bitcoin is doing what it's always done before. Macroeconomically, things have changed dramatically. But if we get our average drawdown for Bitcoin, it's nothing outside of what we've already seen. The mainstream loves to talk about how Bitcoin and the traditional markets are correlated. Well, they're only correlated at times. In 2018, Bitcoin was going down while the stock market was going up. So you got to break this idea that Bitcoin is less tied to the world economy than you think that it is.
Ben, I believe that based on everything you just said regarding how far we have to go with the rest of the bear market, it's a great time to buy, to learn, and to build. And leads me to my next question. For those building in the space, for those keeping an eye on the space, for those participating and getting involved, where do you see Web3 in 5 to 10 years from now with respect to three categories: DeFi, NFTs, and gaming kind of ties in, but in crypto gaming?
Yeah, I definitely believe Web3 is the future. But kind of like it's just almost like anything else. When you're trying to become an expert in something, the more you learn about it, like the more you realize what you don't know. And I think that in crypto is really the same way. The more we learn about crypto, the further away adoption feels. With Web3, it's the same thing. Right now it's buzzy.
I think we might have lost Ben there. We'll give him a couple minutes to cut back in. Hopefully not a couple minutes, hopefully a few seconds. Hey Ben, you there?
And what it takes to create. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we lost you there for about 10 to 20 seconds, Ben.
Okay, cool. But just real quick before I get back into my answer here, I got to cut off at 5:30.
Perfect.
Okay.
Plenty of time. Yep.
Sure. So the point, what I was saying is that when it comes to metaverse and things like that, I think it's probably 8 to 10 years away. When you look at what we're discovering is coins like Filecoin or Arweave or Arweave storage. These are important coins for Web3 because these are storage coins that allow people to pull bandwidth from other computers to be able to create massive metaverse worlds. I think when it comes to, like we have a world in Sandbox. We're called a digital city where Bitboy lives. We got some Bitboy avatars and some really fun stuff there. We have a 12 by 12 piece on Sandbox is huge, and it's hard to to get the whole thing built. Boy, I asked the guy in charge of the builders. I said, "Hey, can I see the land?" He said, "Well, I can make a video and send it to you." So no. I want to go into the land and look around. He said, "Oh no, you would have to go buy a computer the size of a room probably to be able to download the entire thing to look around it." So I was like, "What in the world?" That's how crazy the bandwidth needed to create all of this metaverse land is going to be. So it's part of a lot of cool opportunities, I think, for storage coins and bandwidth coins and things like that. But it just shows how far away we are from adoption. If we're not at a place where just an average person can go into a builder and look around, then we're way far away. And Sandbox uses pixels. So it's actually the very, very easiest one to build on. So I think Sandbox is going to have a very large head start on everything else. But there's a lot of problems to really bring Web3 to the masses today. So in terms of those three categories you listed, DeFi is super interesting because, this is what a lot of people in the traditional finance world don't want. They don't want DeFi. I think if you look back at Celsius and Terra Luna and staking and Anchor Protocol and things like that, what you'll find is, staking is way more dangerous than we thought it was. When you're staking on chain, obviously, there are a lot of there's a lot of good things. We have our own Cardano staking pool, the Bit pool. That's cool to stake. You don't lose your private keys. You're not losing your money there. But DeFi protocols, you know, if you don't have the keys to what you've got with a third party, a DeFi protocol can be a better option, because a DeFi protocol, you can still own your coins in your wallet and stake. However, a lot of those have been hacked. There's been a lot of those, DeFi protocols that have been hacked. You also, if you look at the example of UST, it doesn't matter if you're earning 18% returns on a coin that you don't get back. Also, kind of with yield farming, if you're yield farming and you're making 4% a day on a coin that's dropping 5% a day, you're losing money. So, the world of DeFi is certainly fascinating. It escapes a lot of people. It's over a lot of people's heads. What's really going to be good is when we have some DeFi, platforms out there that are trustless, that work for a long time, that don't get hacked, that people can understand. That's a ways away, in my opinion. So I think there's a lot of good DeFi stuff out there, but for the most part, your average person in crypto really doesn't understand it. I do think in the future with Web3, I think there is going to be a lot of DeFi, but it's hard for me to ever see us having a more exciting DeFi time than 2020. 2020 was really the DeFi summer, and that was probably peak interest. And I think a lot of these things like Celsius and Terra Luna have hurt people's interest in it. I'm much more interested on the metaverse NFT gaming side. I know you mentioned those, NFTs and gaming. Metaverse goes hand in hand with all of that, and it's the kind of thing where it's inevitable. Like, it's inevitable that these things happen. Why? Well, it's technological evolution, just kind of like a lot of other things. When you are able to buy a skin on a game and be able to move it to any other game that you have that's on that same blockchain, like, that's much better than the rental store that the Fortnite store is. My kids play Fortnite. You go on there and you see that you're spending $10 on a costume for your character that you don't own. People have to understand ownership. You do not own it. When you turn the game off, it does not exist. You don't get to take it off the game. When you get tired of that game, you want to move to a different game, then you don't get to do that. You're renting it while the game is turned on and you're playing it. So when people start to understand ownership a little better in the world of gaming, then this is going to, be massive. Now, play to earn. Look, when it comes to play to earn and it comes to NFTs, the thing about it is that right now, console games are so far superior to what we have in blockchain gaming. It's not even funny. I don't want to earn $10 a day on a game that's no fun, has crappy graphics, and freezes all the time. Like, nobody's going to want to do that. So the future of gaming and NFT and metaverse is when we are actually able to bring people over from traditional gaming, because the quality is at least the same and you're earning money, or it's superior. So when it's superior to what they're offering with regular console gaming, and has all the bells and whistles, that's when we'll see true adoption with uh, you know Web3.
Ben, one of my audience members wanted me to ask about the Rare Bloom event that you're going to
Yeah,
be speaking at in
sure.
Denver, Colorado next week. Can you give us
Yeah,
more insight
so
into that, please?
I'm heading to Dubai. I leave on Friday. I'm going to be in Dubai until uh, you know late night, early Thursday morning. Speaking at the Future Blockchain Summit, which
So
should
am
be
I,
really fun.
by the way.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Well,
we should link up.
yeah, absolutely. I'll be there. So then I'm leaving and going straight to Denver for the Rare Bloom event. It's a Cardano community event. Charles, myself, Ben Gertzel, who I've actually met before, creator of Sophia the robot, and also Desi the robot, which her and I may have had a fling when I was in New York. It's a long story. The way she looked at me with those eyes and blinked, it was amazing. But she also told me I was funny. So when the world's smartest AI tells you you're funny, I mean, kind of goes to your head a little bit. But so Ben Gertzel's there from, what is the name of his company? Singularity Net. There's going to be a lot of great speakers there. There's going to be a lot of great Cardano vendors, NFT projects, and it's really just a cool time in Denver for the Cardano community to connect with the people that are leading the industry and leading the charge, and also get to meet each other. I mean, getting community is more than about just getting a Discord server. almost all of my best friends, except for my one friend I had before I got in crypto, they all came from the world of crypto. Because we all kind of have the same mindset. And that's what you find when you go to events like this, which is, there's a reason why we're all in crypto. We all, I know not everyone gets in crypto, or not everyone gets along in crypto. Certainly you got some people out there on crypto Twitter that like to stir up drama. But the fact is, getting around people that have a similar set of ideals, like, it's really good. It's fun. You can make, some really great friends that way. And once again, now that we're in a bear market, um, you know, people who know and talk about crypto are fewer and farther between. So it's good to be able to make those connections. So excited about, we're doing a meetup while we're out there. We're doing an FT panel. We're going to be speaking, going to be interviewing Charles while I'm out there. So it's definitely going to be a big fun event. People should go check it out. You can go to my Twitter, and I've got the pin post. We'll show you about our meetup. You have to have tickets to the conference to go to the meetup. So you can do that. We got a discount code for you. I don't make any money on it. It's just to help the community out.
A lot of exciting stuff coming up. Ben, I know you have to do a hard stop at 5:30. We have a few minutes before we go. Do you want to give our audience members a nugget of wisdom, right? For people that are just coming to this space, people that have been in this space for a while, that are kind of feeling the pain, and people that are building, you give us a Bitboy, aka Ben Armstrong, give us a nugget of wisdom to leave our day with.
Absolutely. I think if you go back to the beginning of this, when we were talking about YouTube, there's a really important principle that you can take from my experience in crypto and on YouTube. There are no shortcuts. Everybody wants a shortcut. You want to find the coin that's going to get you rich overnight. You want to find the coin that's going to crush it in the bull market or in the bear market. You want to become an influencer. You want to learn how to get followers and subscribers. What's the fastest way? Like, you might try to do shortcuts or buy followers, whatever. None of that stuff works. None of that stuff works. It doesn't work in crypto. It doesn't work on YouTube. The only thing that works is getting educated and working hard. Crypto is the exact same. You have to learn as much as you can. The more information you have at your fingertips, the more successful you're going to be. The people that come into crypto and they get rich overnight, you know what happens? They get poor overnight too. Go watch Andre Geek's videos with the Dogecoin millionaire guy. He had no idea what he was doing. He made a bunch of money overnight. And you know what? A few months later, it's almost all gone. He may still be at profit. He may be down. I don't know. You have to learn how to take profits. That's part of the education. So in the world where everybody wants to do things quick, instant gratification, do it overnight, I'll just say this. I've tweeted about this before. It's 100% true. I certainly could have made the journey shorter if I would have been a little bit smarter. But it took me 9 years from the first day I bought Bitcoin to become a crypto millionaire. It took me 9 years. Did not happen overnight. And so, we just really encourage everybody who's listening, get educated, learn as much as you can, take this time during the bear market, learn different investing strategies, whether it's dollar cost averaging or, some other type, certain niches you might be able to invest in, and just do everything you can because, we don't know how long we're going to get these 4 year cycles for. We don't know how long, assuming we have another bull run, we don't know how many more we're going to get. And so this is going to be, in my opinion, a lot of people's last chance to really get in early and learn about crypto. You may be early. Let me rephrase this. You're not early about knowing about crypto. You're not even early about investing in crypto. If you look at the stats, like, some crazy, like 30% of millennials that put money into crypto. But you are very early in learning about crypto and learning what these coins do. 90 to 95% of people who owned crypto at the peak of the bull run last year, they were just throwing stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. They were just investing in 3 or 4 letter tickers. They have no idea what they were investing in. By knowing what you're investing in and by learning the best ways to distribute your capital, that's how you get rich over a certain time period. But it's hard. There will be stumbles along the way. You might get hacked one day. You might, lose all your money on Celsius one day. Whatever. That's what we did, but you're going to have ups and downs. But overall, if you just keep grinding, you just keep working, you just keep getting educated, it's really hard to fail in crypto over a 4 year period.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bitboy, aka Ben Armstrong. Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us today. Whale Coin Talk community, thank you so much for joining. Remember that everything you hear on Whale Coin Talk is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research and invest only in things if you're willing to lose that money. My name is Noah from Whale Coin Talk, signing out. Everyone take care.
thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to follow the channel for more interesting talks and educational content.